You've probably heard of the growth mindset, right? I mean, it's one of the biggest psychological ideas of the last 20 years. You see it everywhere from classrooms to corporate training sessions, and it makes a pretty huge promise that simply changing how you think about your own intelligence can unlock your potential. But is that the whole story? Well, today, we're digging into the surprising controversy and the much more interesting truth behind the power of yet.
So, where did this all begin? It actually started with a really simple but kind of profound observation by Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck. She was visiting a high school in Chicago that did something pretty unique. They didn't give failing grades. Instead, if a student didn't pass a course, their grade was not yet. Just think about that for a second. The word fail feels like a verdict, a dead end. But not yet, that puts you on a learning curve and implies a journey with a path forward. And that one little shift in language was the spark that ignited a global phenomenon.
Okay, so this whole not yet philosophy, where did that lead? It turns out Dweck's research uncovered that pretty much all of us operate with one of two fundamental beliefs about our own intelligence. And this belief, it turns out, dramatically shapes how we live our lives.
So you've got two camps. In one corner, you have the fixed mindset. This is the whole you're born with it idea. Your intelligence is a fixed trait, like your eye color, and that's that. So your main goal in life becomes looking smart at all costs. But in the other corner, you have the growth mindset. This is the belief that your brain is like a muscle. It's not static. It can be developed through hard work, smart strategies, and just plain old persistence. And you can really see the difference when you put them head to head. Someone with a fixed mindset, they tend to run away from challenges because, what if they fail and look dumb? They think effort is a bad thing. If you were really smart, it would just come naturally. Setbacks are absolutely crushing, and they hear criticism as a personal attack. But the growth mindset? It's the total opposite. Challenges are exciting opportunities to grow. Effort is the key to getting better. Setbacks are just part of the process. And hey, feedback is a gift that helps you learn.
And get this, it's not just some feel-good, motivational poster stuff. This actually shows up in our brains. When researchers looked at brain scans of people making mistakes, the fixed mindset brain was, pretty quiet. It's almost like it was trying to ignore the error. But the growth mindset brain, it was on fire. It lit up, deeply processing what went wrong, learning from it, and figuring out how to fix it. It is literally a brain that is wired for yet. So you can imagine, an idea this powerful wasn't going to stay locked up in a lab for long. It exploded into the real world, and everyone from teachers to CEOs got hooked. You can see this play out in the business world all the time. I mean, think about Steve Jobs at Apple. The man was famous for his relentless drive for innovation. Even when a product was a massive hit, he was already obsessed with what came next, how to make it better, how to disrupt the entire market again. That constant push to learn and improve, that's a growth mindset in action. Now, for the flip side of that coin, let's talk about Blockbuster. For a while, they were the absolute kings. But when a little company called Netflix showed up, first with DVDs in the mail and then with streaming, Blockbuster just laughed it off. They were stuck. They were so comfortable with their successful model that they couldn't or wouldn't adapt. That's a classic fixed mindset at an organizational level, and we all know how that story ended. And the impact wasn't just in the boardroom. It was huge in the classroom, too. Check this out. A massive national study found that a really simple online mindset program could prevent an estimated 90,000 at-risk students from failing a core class in their first year of high school. Every single year. That's a huge deal. All right, so let's recap. We've got an idea that seems to boost grades, build legendary companies, and literally rewire our brains. It sounds like the secret sauce for success, right? The ultimate life hack. But is it really that simple? Well, that initial honeymoon period didn't last forever. A big pushback was coming, and soon cracks started to show in the very foundation of mindset theory, from the public, and more importantly, from other scientists. The first rumblings actually came from regular people. Folks who read Dweck's bestseller, Mindset, started hopping online. And as this Reddit user puts it, a lot of them felt the book was just incredibly repetitive, filled with story after story that basically said the same thing over and over. Believe you can improve. People were starting to think the idea, while nice, was maybe a little oversimplified. But then a much more serious challenge came along, this time from inside the scientific community. Other researchers started doing these big meta-analyses, where they combined the data from tons of different mindset studies. And their conclusion was a bombshell. They argued that the positive effects people were seeing were probably just illusions, caused by things like flawed study designs and researcher bias. They were basically saying the emperor might not have any clothes.
Now, you have to understand, this whole debate wasn't happening in a bubble. Right after Dweck's book took off, the entire field of psychology was getting rocked by something called the replication crisis, where scientists were finding that a lot of classic, famous studies just didn't work when you tried to do them again. Growth mindset got swept up in that storm. You had competing studies coming out, with some finding no effect, and others, like that massive student study we just talked about, finding real but maybe more subtle effects. It was a mess.
So, all of this, the hype, the backlash, the conflicting studies, it leaves us with one massive question, right? After all of that, what's the real story? Is the growth mindset a revolutionary tool, or is it just a bunch of hype? Well, the answer, as it turns out, isn't so black and white. It's not that one side was right and the other was totally wrong. What happened was this whole debate forced the theory to grow up, to evolve into something more sophisticated, and frankly, way more useful.
So here's the single most important takeaway from this whole controversy. It's not about mindset alone. A growth mindset isn't some magic pill. Just believing you can grow isn't enough if the world around you is constantly telling you that you can't.
And this realization led to a new idea, what's now called the mindset by context framework. And honestly, the best way to understand it is with a pretty simple but powerful metaphor. Think of a person's mindset as a seed. That seed has all the potential in the world to grow into something amazing, but it can't do it by itself. It needs good soil, a supportive environment to actually flourish.
Let's break that down.
The seed, that's you. It's your personal belief that, yeah, you can get better. But the soil, that's everything around you. It's your teachers, your boss, your friends, the whole culture you're in. That environment has to give you real chances to act on your belief. I mean, telling a student you can grow your brain is totally useless if they're in a classroom where mistakes are punished and there are no second chances.
So what does this good soil actually look like in the real world? Like, what can we actually do? Well, it's about praising the process, the hard work, the smart strategies, the resilience, not just praising someone for being talented. It's about creating psychological safety, an environment where it's okay to try something and fail. And it's about building in chances to revise and improve, showing that the first try is never the final word. It's about building an entire ecosystem of growth.
So you see, the story of the growth mindset didn't end with a simple answer. It just got a whole lot more interesting. The question is no longer just, hey, how can I change my own mindset? The real challenge, the one that truly matters for our schools, our companies, and for all of us, is this. If changing a mind is just planting the seed, how do we get serious about building the soil?